Julien, good evening. How is Paris this evening? And how is Julien this evening?
Good morning, Max. Julian's doing good. Max seemed to be doing good in your new environment. I mean, it's not really new anymore. We're getting used to it, but it's newer than what we had in 2021. I'm doing great. What's your story today?
Well, I feel like I've been letting you down, and it's time to rectify the situation. I have a travel story.
Okay. I didn't see that one coming.
And it's an old one, actually. It's not like I've been doing, I have some travel on the horizon. We'll see if it happens. Things seem to be actually opening up a little bit, but this is an old travel story, airline story. I was on a flight and it was late at night, and this is always my downfall. Fell asleep on the flight, the plane lands, I wake up, I've been awake for 3-minute haze. I gather my stuff. I get off the plane. The second I walk into the terminal, I go, oh, my sweater. And I'd left my sweater. I knew exactly where it was in the overhead bin. It was right there. It was right next to my suitcase. I pulled off the suitcase. I'm like, okay, I'll grab the sweater in a second. Next thing I know, I'm off the plane. So I'm like, I need to get back on the plane to get my, so no, you can't, the security. Okay, I get that. Security, you can't get that. So I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? And they give me a form, lost item form. So, and, people are still coming off the plane. And we'll talk, when we talk about what I should have done, I'll talk about that a little bit. But so I filled in the form. They took their copy. I got my copy. I was in a hurry, so I was like, all right, whatever. And it wasn't an amazing sweater, but it was a nice sweater. It was warm and it fit, and it had a collar. It was a brown collared sweater, which I don't think today is in style in any way, shape, or form. But this was long enough.
Important for the story. So
yes, very important for the story.
Got it.
So off I went. I even called a couple times, and they're like, "Oh yes, we have that. We have your lost and found ticket here. We will search diligently." I'm like, what are the chances? And they were pretty non-committal. So okay, month goes by, 2-3 months. Finally, I'm like, all right, I'm never seeing this sweater again. 9 months later, I get a package.
Giving birth to a sweater takes 9 months. You'll know it.
Yes. And I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, it's from the airline. What is this? And all of a sudden, I realized it's a sweater. Well, I opened it up. It was a brown collared sweater. It was not my brown collared sweater, but it was a brown collared sweater. It didn't fit me. It fit my wife, who, out of courtesy, wore it a couple times, because I wasn't about to return it to them and say, hey, can you find my brown collared sweater? And it wasn't as nice as the one I lost, but at least I got something out of it. And 6 months later, we gave it to the Goodwill or whatever. Like I said, it wasn't much of a sweater, but that was my, it's a very simple story. That was my experience. I was not down. In the long run, I was not down a sweater, or our family wasn't down a sweater, but it was not my sweater. It was not the one I liked that sweater quite a bit.
But the thing is, we probably should forget about the sweater altogether. Don't mean to touch on something very emotional here, but we probably need to forget the sweater altogether, because it could be anything. It could have been something incredibly valuable. Could have been your computer, your work laptop.
Right. Could have been a laptop. Could have been
the last thing that your grandfather gave you 50 years ago that you've kept close to your heart forever.
Now I'm feeling bad.
And honestly, it could have been incredibly valuable from a personal or financial level.
Right.
And the way it is being handled is pretty terrible. Now, based on what you said, I do understand that they are security guidance that they have to follow. This have been enough to American airports to know how it works. The rules is the rules. Don't fuck with the rules. Okay, that's fine. Filling a form. Wow, didn't see that one coming. But honestly, if you look at it, it's the whole story is ridiculous because everyone is losing. I mean, you are losing, obviously, not too much in that story, but could have been much worse. But they are losing big time because they have people searching for the stuff. What they so they say. They have people storing it. They're using storage space. They have people actually answering phone and email to try to retrieve it. They've sent a parcel which hopefully was free of charge. They didn't even ask you to pay for the.
No, they certainly did not.
The transportation.
So they've got to pay for that.
And they probably had to beat up some dude with a brown sweater in order to get you a new one, which I mean, ultimately they've lost big time because how much would it have cost everyone to just say, okay, wait for the entire plane to be empty, fill this form because for whatever reason we need to keep track and we need a copy of your passport to have the number in case that was a sweater of someone else. Tell me exactly where it was, and assuming that your assumption is right, because I'm not going to search the entire plane just to please you, but assuming your assumption is right, I'm going to go straight there. If I find it, it's actually correspond to your seat ticket. I bring it to you. Case closed. I don't have another 15 people involved. I don't need to send a parcel to your home in 9 months' time. I don't need to do something with that form. I don't even know what the heck they do with that form. It would be win-win for absolutely everyone in the story.
Yeah, you're spot on. You know, it's funny. I was thinking about this before we talked about it, and the way I thought about it was, this was on me. I should have gone to the person at the desk. Say, no, I will wait here, and someone will go get it for me. It is, it is in the overhead bin over 24A. I can tell you exactly where it is. I can describe it just when you. But you're right. I shouldn't have done that. The person at the desk should have said, Mr. Ball, I'm really sorry. I'm going to need you to wait a few minutes while we unload the plane. I can't let you on for security reason. But, once we'll get somebody from the flight crew. They'll go grab it and get it for you. I apologize for the wait and the inconvenience, but we really want to see you get. How hard is that? And you're right. How much cheaper is that? Yes, a flight attendant's got to walk halfway down the plane, grab it, and come back.
And worst case scenario, they could have said, okay, we found it, but we have no proof that's yours. We need to have some kind of internal investigation of some sort. Because, again, that was a sweater, but it could have been a diamond ring or could have been a
fair enough.
Computer or whatever else. So we're just going to lock it. We put a tag on it. We know you've requested it. We'll see if anyone else makes similar claim, and then we'll figure it out. And in a month's time, you hear back from it. That's still a fair answer. But the fact that they found a different sweater, what are the chances that on that same plane you had two people with similar sweater who lost it in the same time? Probably impossible, right? Which means that they found another sweater from another plane. So they did not even track where the heck their lost and founds are coming from.
No, that's exactly right. You talked about the storage space. You can imagine there's a room with a bunch of stuff in it, and once a month or so they go through the old things and they say, okay, this one is a laptop bag. Hey, here's a laptop bag. Okay, he gets a laptop bag. It's random what they're sending to who at that point. Whereas if they'd handled it in the moment, it would have been easily solved and it would have been properly solved.
And I'm thinking now, anytime I'm going to leave a plane, I'm going to fill a form saying I lost a laptop or a diamond ring, because who knows, maybe 9 months from now, I'm going to receive.
Actually, I have a story along those lines. I had a friend, and he traveled a ton, and he stayed at the club for the airline, and at some point he was in Miami, and he left the power cord for his Dell laptop there. And I was like, oh man, what are you going to do? He said, oh, watch this. So we went into the Dallas club, and he said, I was here a couple days ago and I left the power cord for my Dell laptop, and they came out with a box with like 20 of them. And it was just like, he grabbed one, it was just like, okay, I'm just paying it forward. It doesn't matter. So, I've even seen that kind of gaming happen a little bit.
But I mean, that's what happens when your process is wrong to start with. So
yeah, exactly.
Well, fix. I guess if there's some learning here is if you can fix something immediately, don't procrastinate just for the sake of creating
Yeah.
additional work. Of course, follow the security guidance, but try to be somehow smart about it. Don't be dumb about following processes for the sake of following processes. And think about the big picture. I mean, again, it has been even more painful for them in terms of cost than it has been for you. What was the benefit of following this process in the first place? That, again, lose-lose. So there's probably also something around the lines of when training your staff, make sure they understand the big picture, not just the small process that they've been asked to follow.
The word I would use is empowerment. The gate people should have been empowered to say, just stand here, my friend. We'll take care of you. I apologize for the wait, but we'll take care of you. And I don't remember. It could have been a connecting flight and it could have been a tight connect. But even then, they could have gone to the gate ahead and say, hey, we got somebody. He's here. He will be right at the edge of on time, but we'll get him there. And, they could have even sent me there. This is going on. This, you could argue this is above and beyond, but they could have sent me there and had the sweater show up while I was getting on the plane so that plane wasn't late. Because there's a lot of time after you get on the plane until they shut the door.
Agree. There are 50 things that could have been done differently. So pretty big fail on this side. Do you feel better? Should I buy you a new sweater or?
No, I don't. I certainly don't buy me a brown collared sweater circa 2005. Not really going to help me very much, but I do feel better. I've always been amused by that story, but sometimes it's funny how my old joke stories end up actually being real customer service issues that I shouldn't just laugh about. We should talk through a little bit. So I appreciate that.
Perfect. I'm glad you feel somehow better. I'm glad you no longer mourn your brown sweater. And I guess we'll just see what I come up with next week, because I guarantee I have quite a few stories in my backlog as well.
All right, that sounds good, and I hope it's not as painful as last week's. So,
can be hardly could I don't know how it could be worse than last week, but we'll see. No,
yeah, there you go. All right.
Thank you so much, Max. Have a beautiful day, and I talk to you next week. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Julien. Have a wonderful evening. Take care.